Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel, Little Steps Shiny Power BI. This channel complements my LinkedIn newsletter with the same name. I'll be using short videos to explain the various steps taken to create a very simple web application, dashboard, etc. using our Shiny and Power BI. In this video, I will go through creating a simple, shiny dashboard. Before we go ahead, I am Bilikisu Wumi Ademeto. I'm the creator of the LinkedIn newsletter, Little Steps, Shiny Power BI. I'm a business data analyst. I'm also an RStudio certified instructor. I'm the founder and co-organizer of Abuja R Users Group and R Ladies Abuja. So, to create a shiny application or dashboard, you need an IDE like RStudio. So let's get into RStudio now. So we'll go to the file menu. We select new project. So in the pop-up window, we click on the new directory. So now we have the window for us to select the project type. We might go for the option of the new project. That is, if you know your way around, you know how to start writing your code yourself to create a shiny application. But for us, we want to start fresh. We want to start as a beginner. We're going to click on the shiny application project type option. So I'll click on this. So we will give it a name. Let's just say shiny application demo. You can choose your directory where you want the project to be saved, but here I'm having it here in my own project file and folder. So I'll leave it as this. So you don't have to check any of these options for now, but we'll discuss why you need all these two options as we progress in our journey, taking a little step at a time. So I'm going to click on create project now. So now we have a new project. And now you can see that RStudio has created a default app.r file for us, which is going to serve as a guide as we're going on to create our shiny application or dashboard. So the app contains the two elements that builds your shiny dashboard. That is the UI. This is the definition of our UI. That's the user interface, what you see when you load or run a shiny application. Then we also have the server function. This is the function that helps us to interact with the UI. For any interaction that the user is going through on the UI, the user interface, it is passing all the inputs into the server, and the server helps us to generate some functions, and these functions helps us to create outputs that is now seen, is displayed in the UI. So basically, this is how we create a simple, shiny dashboard. I'm going to go over the two elements that are within the dashboard. So before I go into the details of the two elements that builds your shiny app, let's look at what we actually have in the app. So I'm going to click this button right here on my right side. So it says run app. So if I click on this, we'll see the default. Now you can see the default dashboard that has been generated for us. So we can see we have a slider input, which we can interact with to change the number of bins that we want. And as we're interacting with this,
the plot is changing. So you can see the plot. If I increase it now, the plot changes. The histogram that we have on the dashboard changes. So this is a kind of a reactivity occurring. So there is the communication between the UI and the server function. So this is basically a beautiful dashboard. So I'll stop running the app. So I'm going to take us into the components of the dashboard. So the first component we have here is that we're loading the library. That's the Shiny package. So this is where we get all the functions that we use in creating our dashboard. So the first component here is our UI, the user interface. And from the comments you can see, so it defines the UI for application that draws histogram. So this UI is basically helping us to draw a histogram. So there are so many things that you can do on your UI. So the UI now consists of a basic elements or function that helps us to start the structure of the UI. So we're using in this instance the fluid page. There are so many other objects that we can use to create our UI. So the fluid page, within the fluid page, we can have our title panel, which helps us to give the application a title. So we have the sidebar layout where we have the slider input that we're interacting with. Then the main panel where we have the histogram. This is where we have our histogram displayed. So then the whole function, that's the fluid page object, and its constituents, all these little elements that are within that fluid page are now saved as UI. So this object is now saved as a UI. So now we look at the server function. This is a function that helps with connecting the UI with the operations that helps us to draw our histogram. So whatever interaction we're having here, the output is all done inside the server function. So the output now is saved with a unique name, which is the dist plot. So this ID is actually used as a reference in the UI, and this is where the histogram is being drawn. So for all the functions there, the rendering here is going to help us to create a reactive plot, which is now suitable for us to assign to an output on the UI. So this render plot is a function that generates a reactive or object. So in this case, we're looking at the histogram. So the render plot here generates a reactive object, which is the histogram, and is now saved as an output, which is now being referenced in the UI using the ID dist plot. So whatever code that you want to use, you put it, is now wrapped inside the render plot, which now helps us to draw our histogram in the UI. So this basically the two components that we're having here. So now for us to get the application now displayed to us as users, we need to pass the UI object and the server function to the Shiny app function down here for us to be able to run the application. So the Shiny app function is actually expecting you to give it a UI object and a server function. So, and that is what has been passed down here. So now we can run it again. You see the output. All these are being done within the whole application, app.r. So we've done a great job here. So I'm going to go ahead to show you the different structures that we might have when we are creating our Shiny application. We might be looking at a one file structure, and in this instance, this is a one file structure. We only have the app.r. So we can also go for two file structure, in which case we split the UI and the server function into different files. So what we need to do is just go and click this button, or you go to File, New File. We click on the R script. We want to create a new R script. So here we might just go back to our app.r, copy out the UI, the definition here, the entire definition, copy, then we'll paste it here. So, and then we save as UI.r. Remember, you have to save it in the directory where you're also going to have your server.r file. So I'm going to go ahead and save this file. So this has been saved now. So I'm going to create a new file for the server function. So I'll save this first, server.r. So I'll now go to the app.r file and copy out I'm going to copy the server function there and just paste it in here. So remember, if you have any library that might be a dependent on the app that the app is actually dependent on, you need to also reference them in the file. So with what we have here, let's try and run this. So we get back the same thing. So what Shiny, the Shiny package is doing is that it's loop inside the directory where the UI and the server, the UI.r file and the server.r file are located. It makes sure that the two files are present. When the two files are present there, you can run the app from either of these two files. So if I go into the UI.r file, I can also run the app from it. So if I click on the run app button here, and I click run, so you can see the app also displays just like we did with the server.r file. So it's this simple. So at this junction, we've come to the end of this video. So in the next video, we'll be looking at other topics that could get us started with our Shiny development. So remember, like the video, share, and subscribe to the channel so that you can have updates on the latest video that we'll be publishing next. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.